tonight's Digitrek, TAFE and RCAT networking night. My name is Debbie Joppick, for those who don't know me, and I'm the General Manager for Roma Commerce and Tourism. Tonight we've got some people that I'd like to welcome to Roma and also to acknowledge. And firstly, I'd like to welcome all the Digitrekkers to Roma. So I'm sure a few of them are first timers, so welcome so much. We love visitors and we love to welcome you, and we hope you all come back one other time. The Australian Army Drone Racing Team, first time to Roma, so that's exciting for you guys, but it's more exciting for us, and I know that a lot of the community members and a lot of the students, and it was a great thing that a lot of people were very excited to have you, so thank you so much for taking the time and coming and visiting us. I'd also like to acknowledge some of Bron. So Bron's from the Queensland department that looks after digital economies. So thank you, Bron, for supporting the project. Thank you for bringing it to Roma. And yes, it just creates opportunities for our kids and people. So thank you so much for bringing it to Regional Queensland. We really do appreciate. We're also very fortunate that the TAFE has brought this project to Roma. It is a bit of a roadshow, and it is great that Roma is considered part of their itinerary. So we're very fortunate with our partnership, and TAFE are one of RCAT members, so we love to support our members in that way. And it's just invaluable for our regional students. So we very much thank TAFE for coming to Roma. RCAT's priorities is to recruit and retain our workforce, and we're doing this in many ways this year. We're doing a livability project, and we are doing another project honing in on human resource skills and training, and we're also proud to be hosting the 10th annual Maranoa Business Awards in October this year, and TAFE is actually a long-term supporter, and they sponsor the Employer of Choice Awards, so that's pretty topical as well when we're trying to attract and retain our staff. Also, RCAT is a proud supporter of our members TAFE, who last year held our Maranoa Careers Expo, and that was also to deliver STEM, and also when we deliver STEM programs into our schools, and we do that through the Business Excellence program. But I just hope you enjoyed this evening, so I'm just going to pass across to Sam, who will continue the evening.
Thank you, Deb. I'd just like to ask Deanne Parslow to come forward and deliver an acknowledgement of country before we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, can you put that on? Oh, sounds like it's not on when you stand here. Okay, as a proud Gungari woman from the Maranoa area, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this country, the Mantandangi people, and respect the continuing connection to land, waters, cultures and family that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people uphold. We pay respect to elders past, present and future. We recognise that teaching and learning has taken 60,000 years, and two-way learning is an important part of our reconciliation journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Just like to reiterate Deb's comments and thank everyone for coming tonight. Just also like to point out we've got Fraser and Lizzie from Integrated STEM, who are part of the Digitrekker crew with us this week. So we're very excited to have them on board. But I'd just like to invite Bron McClain from the State Department, who looks after digital economies, to step forward and give us a bit of an overview of the program of the Digital Action Plan and why we're here today.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, my name's Bron McClain. I'm the Program Director in the Department of Communities, Housing and Digital Economy. Well, it wasn't until last Friday, but there's some changes afoot, as I'm sure you've heard. I look after an $8 million program called the Digital Professional Workforce Action Plan. Now, this is a limited life 4-year program by the Queensland government to upskill Queenslanders in digital. So there's so many ways that you can use digital to promote yourself, your business, your career, your job, and what we are doing is putting those skills in the hands of Queenslanders now. It's thrilling to be back with TAFE again. We ran a Digitrek in Townsville this time last year. It was a success, but nothing like what's happening here. So it was with TAFE in Townsville. They were fantastic. I think that Sam and Michelle, who's not with us tonight, and their entire team have gone the extra mile. So creating this marvellous roadshow, any opportunity to get out into regional Queensland, we say yes, because we actually get to meet the people and see the people who we are helping to change and influence. So I want to say thank you to TAFE for having us again. And people say thank you, Bron, but really all I did was write a briefing note. I did nothing after that. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of Digitrek, and certainly do get in touch with us. Google Digital Professional Workforce Action Plan, and we're available to answer any of your questions. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks very much, Bron. And a lot of you may be actually asking, what is Digitrek and what's it all about? So I just wanted to give you a bit of a quick overview before we introduce the panel of guest speakers tonight who can give us a little bit more information. But essentially, the Digitrek Regional Roadshow is a free event that has come about as a result of Bron's amazing briefing paper. So what we put our heads together and thought, how can we actually leverage off the purpose of the Digital Action Plan and what the strategy is working to achieve, and how can TAFE Queensland partner with local industry and business to make that happen. So thank you to Roma Commerce and Tourism for hosting us this evening. This is the kickstart, I guess, of a 4-day roadshow that we are starting here in Roma. So tomorrow we'll actually have students from the local high schools on campus, as well as members of the business community. Furthermore, as you may have seen by some of the wonderful acrobatic displays earlier, we are so excited to have the award-winning Australian Army Drone Racing Team here with us on the Regional Roadshow, which is fantastic. First time in Roma, and tomorrow we're heading out to Dalby and then off to Kingaroy before finalising the event in Toowoomba later this week. So essentially, Digitrek is about unpacking what digital skills are and how we can look at applying them in our everyday workforce. So what I might do is actually invite our members of the panel forward, and we're just going to have a bit of an overview, ask a couple of questions. But I'd just like to introduce you to the panel this evening. So we have on our left, Lance Corporal Dan McCullock. Daniel is also known as McDaddy McCullock when he's
we saw that.
in flight. So that's his call sign. Dan comes to us from the Australian Army and can tell us a little bit more about that shortly. We also have Mr. Tim Lewis, who is the Deputy Principal of the Queensland Virtual STEM Academy. For all the Roma locals, you'll be very familiar with Tim, no doubt. We also have Bron McClain, as mentioned earlier before. And we have with us Fraser, who is delivering one of the sessions tomorrow. Fraser's from Integrated STEM and works with young people about exciting their interest in STEM. So I might just start off with the first question and we might go through. So the first one is the importance, tell us a little bit about the importance of technology in transforming business, our economy and our international engagement.
Thanks, Sam. I think that I can tell you the importance of it in one word. So join with me, ladies and gentlemen, COVID. If nothing else, out of all the lessons it taught us and all the horrible things that it did to us, if it did teach us one thing, it was that we really need to make sure that we're at the top of our game in technology at all times. We could no longer see people, we could no longer go shopping, we could no longer have our pastimes, we couldn't study, we couldn't work, we couldn't play we couldn't exercise the way we used to. So we had to learn how to do everything online, remotely, within our own home.
I guess I wanted to talk about how education's developing as far as a digital platform. I use a program called IC to teach students around the state. So I teach STEM programs. It doesn't matter whether it's design thinking, 3D printer, laser cutting, forensics. My class is all across the state, so I teach highly capable students STEM subjects on a program, so it's virtual reality, it's immersive, and when we talk about ingrained inside the world, I want you to think about a game, like a video game like Call of Duty, where you're in it as an avatar. So you're actually a little screen going forward, but you can move and interact, so it's spatially aware. So if I'm close to you, I can hear. If you move away, you can't hear me. So therefore, students can actually interact with each other like they would in real life. You can teach, you can set collaborative tasks in that world, which you can't do if you put them on Teams. Like Teams, it's very much that one-way sort of thing. You can break into breakout rooms, and it's terrible. I find it terrible. You know, you can have that meeting and get stuff done, but if you want to teach people and be a collaborative learning environment, I think we've moved past that, and it's going to be interesting where we go.
Probably just add to that in a bit of a different perspective. For me, I kind of grew up really just loving technology all the time, and I think once you're kind of in it, you're kind of looking backwards from where you started backwards, and you see kind of what kids are learning at school. I think you realise that if you by chance had this interest in technology, you were kind of lucky, because you realise that the point when you thought technology was really cutting edge, and now 20 or 10 years on, if you didn't know those fundamentals at the start, you kind of start getting left behind. And I think that can be a really empowering thing if you're on that tip of technology, or it can be a very fearful thing. So I think, and I'm sure everyone's probably heard of ChatGPT by now and probably seen all the clickbait, heard all the news. I won't go into the details, but I think the reason why that type of technology has really created such a stir in the society we live in is because it really brings forth that question that maybe we kind of were too fearful to ask, and it's, you know, what value can we bring as humans to the jobs we do? And some of that will be automated, and some of it will change forever, just basically because someone brought this little program out called Chat. And I think really that's how businesses need to evolve, which means they need a workforce that also evolves with that. Oh, sure, yeah, that's a really good one. So I suppose lifelong learning, and it extends obviously past digital and technologies. I think it's just a matter of looking at how we do things every day and try and doing them just a little bit better. Honestly, that's where these tools really help if you do know how to use them. When ChatGPT came out for us, we were using them to write emails, we were using them to just generate things that we could do, but the fact it would take us an hour rather than 10 minutes. And so I think for us as like a really small kind of startup in this space, it's always like, how can you be more efficient, because you're competing against people that have way more resources than you, because they've got hundreds of staff, you know. So it's always about, for us, is how do we just make those small steps that make a bigger impact in what we want to do. I think lifelong learning is just probably the number one skill I'd recommend anyone try and commit to. You know, it's just a matter of always thinking, how do we be better? And by doing that, you tend to do better, and by doing that, you tend to get more customers, and by doing that, you grow. So I think for particularly anyone out there, and I really didn't get a chance to meet everyone out there, but if you're in a small startup space and you really need to make an impact quickly, it's all about how do you improve, and how do you improve fast, because everything's kind of against you in a lot of ways, just because you don't have the resources. So I think that's probably the biggest impact, is just improving and keeping improving that way.
From a government perspective, with digital skills training and the implications of it, we are an enormous state. Queensland is very, very decentralised, and we've got a lot of thriving communities very, very, very far away from the headquarters in Brisbane. And for a long, long time, Queensland was sort of a bit of an us and them. You know, there were the people who lived in the CBD, and then there was sort of everybody else in the rest of the state. What's happening now through the advances in digital technologies, and then as a result of that, people's skills in digital technologies, is that we're actually shrinking our state a little bit more. So now what was once impossible, for example, to have two very, very outback communities maybe talking to each other or doing some deals together or even doing some learning, it's now possible for them to operate in real time and to get much quicker results. So what's also happening with government is that we're able to get services out to people more quickly. We're able to offer people, instead of, you know, like the old I'll put a letter in the mail to you and maybe you'll drive to the end of the street and it'll be there in a month or something. It's now almost immediate. You can go online, you can access services, you can pay bills, you can find information, and you can download the products that you need to be able to enable you to live your life, do your study, run your business. And that's where I think that the real winner is going to be, and this is why we're never going back. We're never ever going back. This is only just going to keep getting faster and stronger and better, and we kind of just have to hang on and go along for the ride and embrace everything it does.
For me, I think lifelong learning I could foster through curiosity, getting our students curious about anything, about learning. If we can get them to be interested in whatever topic it is, they can be curious about, then they can use all these digital tools to learn about it. I just wonder if we're teaching them specific skills, you know, where is that going to lead them? So if you teach them how to be curious, they'll learn those skills naturally because they'll be interested in them. They'll want to go out and go learn these things.
Yeah, and I guess just to follow on from that, from our perspective in drone racing, it's a lot about using those skills and learning those skills. There's a lot. Technology moves really quickly, like in drones, and the learning that you need, or the learning that you get from drones, like building drones, racing drones, it can sort of be a pathway into other skills, other technology. Yeah.
Obviously, with the advancement of technology, and we've had some really good examples there with onset of COVID, the pivot in the way that we communicate with each other, but also some of the challenges that came with that as well. Moving forward into this new world, I guess, what are some of the challenges and opportunities in all of your respective areas that you think we can harness as everyday people?
Mobile black spots. Don't hate me, I don't run that area. I know that the government is looking into it, but I've also known that through the job that I'm doing now, which has taken me to some of the most beautiful parts of this state, which I wouldn't normally go, or I wouldn't have opportunity to go, so I see myself as very, very lucky. It is the connectivity that is going to be a challenge that the government has to start committing some funds to. I know that we've just released the Digital Economy Strategy, which is Queensland's 10-year digital blueprint to get us through to the Olympics. I'm sure there'll be iterations on it as we go. It is receiving some funding, and I do know that that connectivity piece is going to be a very high agenda item. What it actually looks like, I'm afraid I can't tell you. I work in this capability space. But through our market research and engaging with stakeholders, we found out that connectivity is a huge issue. The other issue we've come across, so these are negatives, so I'm sorry to be doing this because I've done a lot of positive talking, is there is a big divide. There is a digital divide between those who have devices and access to devices and capability to use devices and those who don't. One of the things we're doing as part of the Digital Professional Workforce Action Plan is that we're partnering with a charity in Townsville called Lighthouse, L-I-T-E-H-A-U-S, run by an amazing entrepreneur called Jack Groden. And we are partnering with him to deliver 2,000 refurbished devices to First Nations and migrant school children in some of the most rural and remote parts of Queensland. So these are schools that only have like 40 kids in them sometimes. There might only be 2 teachers or something like that. Because what our research has also shown us is that there is an alarming gap between those who can afford and those who can't, or just simply can't get access. Again, this happened in COVID. Suddenly there's mum and dad and the 4 kids. The kids are home school learning, during homeschooling, and there's 1 computer. How do you do that? What do you do? So they're 2 very big challenges. I know I can do something about the second one with getting devices and ergo training to these people, but I will definitely be doing what I can as a public servant to push on the connectivity issue. Who'd like to go next?
For me, an interesting one is workforce planning. So our staff, if we want to attract people to the region and keep them in the region, there's opportunity using digital technologies to keep them here, but then working not just for the town or for the school or for the area, to branch out, but actually keep people in Roma or their country area or their hometown through using digital technologies.
I'd probably add to that what Tim just said. Actually, is I think it's very interesting when you kind of label yourself as a technological person or not, and I find a lot of people kind of do that to themselves. I think you then start limiting yourself of what you can do, and I think it's not a binary thing, it's definitely a scale, and I think for everyone that scale is very different, and I think where you start, just starting is the most important part. So I suppose just saying that. One thing that I find a lot, because a lot of the research I do is robotics in beef processing, which is a very ag, obviously, field. I get to work with a lot of people that come from ag, and I think, communities like this, like in Roma and Dalby and the ones we're going to, there's so much ag around, and I think it's quite interesting for me to see there's also kind of, ag is definitely not an industry that you would assume has a lot of tech in. When you actually get into the roots of it, there's a lot there, and I think you'd be surprised how much opportunity comes from someone who's lived on a farm, knows the context of how things grow, or how to raise cattle, or how to feed them in a certain way, and adding tech to that. I think there's this kind of stigma that you have to be this Silicon Valley person who loves tech and comes into ag, but there's so much context in ag that takes generations of knowledge to learn. And I think, to be honest, I kind of came the other way, but I've really started appreciating that there's so much you need to know how to automate or put robotics in to actually work. Just wheeling in a robot into an abattoir just doesn't work. You really need to know how did the animal grow, where is its tissues, and all this stuff. And I could talk about beef for years, and I won't, because everyone will, that's just been my life. But yeah, there's so much context that has value, and I think people see the shiny objects, you know how to program a robot, that has value, and yes, it does. But there's so much knowledge that you need to know to use those technological solutions. So I think definitely don't not appreciate that in these communities there's so much knowledge. It's just a matter of how do you use tech with that to get value, and it's not just one or the other sometimes.
Yes, the next big question that I'm sure everyone is wanting to know from Dan is, how did you get into drone racing?
Yeah, so it started with a 3D printer. So my wife got me a 3D printer for my birthday. I wanted to find something interesting to do with it. So I got on the internet, got on YouTube, and discovered that people were printing drones. So I started trying to print some drones and realised that they really don't last very long when they're 3D printed. So then I continued to research and reach out to other people in the drone community, and from there it snowballed, and yeah, now it is most of my life, apart from my wife and my other work, but yeah. Yeah, so that was 3 years ago, so I'm 40. That continuous learning, it's something that even from a hobby side of things, you can do. I didn't know how to solder, I didn't know anything about electronics. Since then I've designed electronic PCBs for specific purposes within the hobby. So it's just a really great hobby for STEM. You can do a lot of coding. It can be sort of the basic of just programming your drones, but then you can also, if you're interested, reach out into actually programming the software, because the majority of the software that we use is open source. So you can find issues that people are having or things that people want to do and contribute. So it's a really interesting and a really good pathway for learning, I think.
Oh look, I think with 3D printing, a lot of my friends and stuff are always getting me to print out little things for them, whether it's a caravan and they've got a little thingy-bob and they send me measurements and I've got to draw it up and 3D print it for them. So I think it's a unique skill. If you know how to do it, you'll get a lot of work from friends and relatives, how to do that. but students, once they know how to do it, they're always trying to get in on the computer and use it to their best advantage. So the big thing for them, I guess, if they want to get into drones or something, they just need that little bit of a push of money to get them started, and then they'll be broke for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
They'll have a job and then broke. Yeah.
They could be doing worse things with the money though.
That's it.
Yeah, I think I'll just add, it's really interesting, definitely not in drones, but in robotics. The reason I got started, I wish I could say I wanted to save lives and do some awesome things, but I really just love battle bots, and I just wanted to build a battle bot with a chainsaw and a flamethrower, all that silly stuff you grow up thinking that'd be a good idea as a kid. And I think it really is to start. It's just finding the reason why and making that strong enough to put in those hours to fail and to just learn stuff off YouTube. And there's a lot of stuff now. I think there's so much access to information, and as you just said, Dan, there's so much stuff on Arduino Hub or open source platforms. It's all out there really. It's just a matter of finding the drive to look into it. We've definitely taught a lot of kids in 3D printing, and there's one particularly up near Mackay that's started his own business in 3D printing, and that he's not the exception. There's a lot of kids that do it. It's quite a lucrative business for kids actually, so it's kind of cool to see them actually take it on, start making money. And to be honest, it doesn't matter if he's still doing that business in 2 years or if he's actually making serious money in 3D printing. It's the fact that he took something he loved, he found out that yes, there's value there and people are prepared to pay for it, and now he's got a whole new mentality of what tech really is to him, and it's about getting that driving. And I think he's going to go into all this STEM stuff because he's found that that's valuable for him, and so yeah, it's really about finding the purpose to learn, I think. And kids find that easy because it's fun. When we're grown-ups, we kind of maybe think we're too mature to have fun, but no, I think it's all about finding that perspective.
Why Digitrek? Why jump on the road for the AADRT? Some of them have travelled since 3 this morning to get here today. So why Digitrek?
Straight to there.
So just like a lot of the engagements we do things like boot camp for cadets. It's about engaging the youth and introducing them to, for us, for drone racing, how much it can be a pathway to learning. So all those things that I spoke about, it just it gives a great sense of accomplishment for me to be able to pass that on to other people, the things that I've learned.
Yes, for me it's just seeing last year how our students from the region went into all the different workshops, and they got to experience a lot of different things, not just one particular technology, so it was the experience that they got to share.
I'm just writing the check.
I'd say for us, we're kind of a small team, but we're always into ag tech, and I suppose for us, we always love going west. We're based in Toowoomba, but really we see a lot more engagement in kids that care about ag, and when we do ag tech, it really changes their perspective. So I think this is the second road trip we've done out here, and we're just so glad that TAFE has done this. There's a lot of effort that goes behind all this, and yeah, so a huge thank you to you guys putting it on. I think it means a lot to a lot of these kids because they just don't get the same access, even in Toowoomba to Brisbane, but then there's a whole nother layer from Toowoomba out west here. So yeah, it means a lot, and it's always hard to get a crowd, so I'm really glad you guys have shown TAFE that this is worth doing. You've come to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you guys have travelled maybe even an hour or two, or maybe even more, so yeah.
The purpose of the Digital Professional Workforce Plan is that it is Queensland-wide. It is not just centred in the CBD. And as I've said before, the government sometimes, the perceptions of people for the government is that it's very centred here. We are breaking that barrier down by going as far and wide as we can. What I don't have on my team is the capability to put something like this together. So the best part about the work that we're doing in my little space is that we can partner with enormous names like TAFE. No one's going to come and see Bron McClain and the Professional Workforce Plan, but people will definitely come to see TAFE, so we're so grateful to have you as a partner. And thank you everyone for coming.
Also, I'd like to Debbie Jopic for being our event management partner for this evening. We really appreciate all of the efforts yourself and the business community have put in. We really appreciate the turnout here tonight, so thank you very much. If anyone is interested in coming along tomorrow, we do have business workshops running. So our resident educator Shane will be under the Festoon light. Shane will be facilitating a couple of sessions that have been put together in collaboration with our partners at Fujitsu Australia and New Zealand. So we've got some fantastic topics to cover there. Implementing AI within your business. So something that people might think is just ChatGPT, but interestingly AI has been around since 1956. So that's a fun fact for those that didn't know that. But it is changing rapidly, and it's really interesting to find out how you can apply it in your business. So within the workshop tomorrow, you'll come away with some tips and tricks on how AI can be beneficial to your business, and we'll also cover on cyber security and the importance of it for businesses, and also requirements in terms of protecting customer data. So there will also be some takeaways which include action plans for implementation to your business, and that has been a great initiative of Fujitsu that we have been really fortunate to get that partnership up and running and to be able to bring that information out to Roma. So I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening, and we might just call on our award-winning world champions.
Military champions.
Military champion, Australian Army drone racing team for another demo, and please enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you once again for coming.